I'm your new neighbor. I'm from Berlin.
I heard Ibiza is the place for new music.
I don't speak German, you don't speak Spanish, so let's just speak English.
Keine Ahnung, hätte ich nicht erwartet. Ich meine, wenn wir auflegen, dann scheißt er ja auch auf die Mädel.
Martha!
Ich genieße einfach die Zeit mit ihr. You're a musician?
Er war mein Lehrer.
What? You're understanding German now? Why trick me like that?
Er war Jude. Es war 1936 und ich war 16. When I learned about the camps, how could I ever speak that Nazi language again? What did your parents tell you about the war?
Not that much, really.
I thought there were things he kept from us, but not that.
How can you carry on not knowing exactly what happened?
You call everyone who didn't resist the machine a coward. You are a coward. You run away.
You're mad at them?
Everything's changed now.
I have medicine in my mind too. From a long time ago. But you brought them back? We have already been everything we needed to be for each other.
This is a declaration of love here. You're not making it easy.
Such a beautiful movie, such a beautiful movie. I mean, I want to get in, I want to talk about this, obviously. I first kind of want to start, I mean, you've had an incredible career. I want to start, what brought you to filmmaking? What started you as a director?
I was going every night at the Cinémathèque in Paris, seeing mostly American movies of the 30s and 40s and up to the 50s. And they were sometimes 3 a night. And we were talking after that in café with groups of film fans. And one night I came back walking because there was no more subways. And during that walk, I remember deciding, okay, this is simple. I'm just gonna make movies. Oh, wow. So I had this immense luck of knowing exactly what I wanted to do very early. Yeah. And like that, I just, you know, I went back to my mother, said, you know anybody who is in movies you can introduce, you can arrange for them to come
I love
dinner.
that you were asking your mother, hey, do you have any Hollywood connects for me? Exactly.
Whatever. So, and then whenever I found somebody that was in movies and that they were going to make a movie, and then I said, do you mind if I come and work for free? And they say, well, you know, it's complicated. I say, you know, I borrowed the car of my mother. I said, you know, I have a car and I can drive, and all that will, I guarantee you, no one refused something like this.
That's fantastic. That's a great message out there for young filmmakers. You have to go for it. You know, you have to offer your services. Yeah. Do you remember your first film? You know, what inspired you to make that first film and what the subject was?
That was more. Yeah. That was, of course, you can't escape talking a little bit about you in the first movie. Yeah. I don't like to talk about me in movies, but and now, of course, the last movie, it's in the same house than more, and it's a lot about me. It's also about my mother and my background. But more was a love story I had with a girl of my age, and she was an ex-junkie, and she was just desperately trying to get back to the stuff. And the only way she could do it was to try to make me try. And like that, she could share it with me and all that. So it was an obsession, and she was very clever, and she really tried hard. And of course, I was lucky enough not to give in. And then I said, man, that could be a love story. That could be a story of a modern femme fatale in T-shirts.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously you're drawn to true stories. I mean, you've done a couple pictures on that inspired from your true life, but also some narratives and some fiction. I mean, what keys into a story for you? What makes a great story to tell?
Great characters and great dilemmas.
I mean, I think you've worked with a tremendous amount of young actors when they were just starting. I mean, Jeremy Irons, he's so fantastic work with him. Can you tell us a little bit about working on that film with Jeremy?
Every work with an actor is like a love story. It's very difficult to get into the details. But no, it was just an extraordinary experience. Yes.
I think a lot of people out there might know you from Murder by Numbers, and obviously working with young Sandra and Michael and young Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
I mean, that was a tremendous picture. I mean, what was it like working with those young actors, and seeing them turn into what they did?
Well, for me, they were exactly what they became already right off the start. I mean, for me, an actor is the most important thing in a movie. I fall in love with them. I can't see. I begin to see my movie when they start talking. So for me, it's the most important thing. So when somebody say what it was like to do, it's like talking about what it was like to be in love with that person at that time.
Yeah. You could sense that it was coming from Ryan. Obviously he's had a tremendous career now, but you could see it in the audition and that sort of thing.
Of course. No, I mean. Absolutely, it was, and the same with the actor of the Max Riemann is incredible, and I completely was absolutely sure that he would become one of the greatest star of our time, and I still convinced of the same thing. Anyone who sees the movie will see is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's so fantastic. I mean, when you're starting, obviously this project is a little bit closer to home for you.
Right.
I mean, when you're starting the research and that sort of thing. I mean, is this just come out of conversations with your mother, Amnesia? Is that what it came from? The pre-production, that sort of thing? Did you approach her or did you just remember stories from your past and pull that to write the script?
Well, no, it's very simple. I don't speak my mother's tongue. This is quite a strange situation. And so I decided to make a movie about that because my mother refused to speak German. Yeah. And so I don't speak German. It was her tongue. And because she left Germany when she was 16, and actually, she was the force behind leaving Germany with her mother. And when she learned about the camps a little later, she said, not only I'm never going back there, but I'm not going to speak the language, and I'm not going to buy German cars, and I'm not going to drink German wine. So it was pretty extreme position. But it came from her heart. Yeah.
And when did you come upon the idea to make a film out of it? Obviously, that's close to your home.
Well, she was living exactly like in a movie, in a beautiful house, in a fantastic landscape, with a very, very simple life. A very simple life. Like $5 a week life because it was self-sufficient.
We should all move there.
She was growing her own vegetable, and she was fishing what she was eating. And when sometimes I go there to visit her, and I say, "But what happened when you don't fish?" She said, "Well, I come back, I eat a potato." But the big deal was that one day I came back, and there was this young German boy that was there, and she told me, I'm in love. I'm absolutely in love. Of course, it was totally platonic. Yes. And then I said, this could be a movie. Yeah. This could be a movie because to make a love story without sex, that's an interesting twist. And to make a love story or to make a suspense movie in a way that the big suspense moment is suddenly when people start talking German or not talking German. It's also something that has not been done in movies. So
Did you interrogate or interview that young boy? And
absolutely. He became a friend. And now my mother is 101. She's going to become 102 in a few days. And when I go to visit her sometimes, on every Sunday night, he would come and he would sit down in the dark with her and talk for hours in German. And I don't know what they were saying to each other. And so this to say that not only I knew him, but the whole relationship kind of lasted. I mean, the boy got married, he's got a child, like in the movie. So this is all based on reality, but it is not a movie about my mother. It's more about the perception of the German nation through different generations, how it was and how they managed to deal with what happened there.
Absolutely, and also having conversations with people without outside of your generation. You know, it's fantastic the conversations I have. And young Max, what Max plays, who's fantastic. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about the casting process, finding Martha, obviously, to play this character? I mean, she's tremendous.
Well, finding Martha was something that was obvious. It would have happened very quickly because not only she was perfect age. She was exactly the age of my mother at the moment that this happened. And she's very beautiful also, and she's completely dedicated. She's a super actress, life member of the actor studio. And so it's the type of acting that I'm very attracted to. And so we got along great, and she had deep connections to this story because actually in her family there was her uncle who stayed in Germany. She moved with her father to Switzerland, actually another similarity. And her uncle was in the Russian front, and when after the war he came to visit in Switzerland, his brother, and she heard that they were fighting, they were arguing, and so she was very young, but she remembers every word of the fighting, and the two brothers were fighting, and in the movie we have the two women, the Martha and the mother of the boy, fighting about was it good to leave Germany or not, and was it good to stay, and how do you, and so on. So that kind of fight.
Oh, wow. And so she brought that from her own history.
Completely. I mean, she knew the subject from better than me, in a way.
Yeah, she speaks German as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she is German. Obviously.
Yeah. And then, the chemistry with Max is fantastic. I mean, is that something you're able to find in the room, or was that right off the bat?
Well, I met him. I decided I fell in love with him, and then I said, well, we should at least try to one scene. So he flew to Paris, and we did a little test with 4 different actors. And of course, there was not even the beginning of a question that he was the guy. And she went, oh my God, this is incredible. His acting talent.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And
it's really authentic.
Is it interesting for you to have to direct somebody speaking a different language than your own native language? Is that hard for you? Can you tell the emotion?
Well, I mean, the scenes in German are very few. So, and it's actually one of my specialties. I go to countries and make movies, and managed to make a movie in Medellin in Colombia. I did a movie in Spanish, a Colombian movie. I did another movie in Japan. So I don't have trouble just adapting to totally different situation and actors and all that. Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of playfulness in their conversations, and the fishing trip is especially fun.
Right.
He's falling into the water.
Right.
Martha knocks him into the water.
Right.
I mean, is that something that you're able to get in that first take, or is that something you guys have a fun day on the water for that one?
Unfortunately, we had to do a second take, but it was planned to be in one take. And this was a shooting where we were trying to move very fast because we had desperate financial situation.
I mean, I think, you know, shooting on that island is obviously a different experience than a lot of film, you know, directors. You know, they're in Hollywood, they're in a studio, that sort of thing. I mean, what is it about being in the actual area, being on the actual island that brings to the story? I mean, was that difficult for you to pull off? I can imagine it was.
Well, it was in the house I knew all my life. It was in the house where I shot my first movie, and most of the action was around there or accessible from there. And so I was totally home. I mean, I was like, for me, it was, no, there was no problem whatsoever.
How many days do you guys have there? Obviously, the cast is coming. They're living on the island with you. It sounds like it would be a great sort of family situation, creating this film together and living on this island.
We were able to spend 10 days of rehearsals that were magical because we went right on the spot, on the set. Through the whole scenes, we wrote down every position, everything that because we had only 20 days to shoot the movie, and 20 days of 8 hours a day. So this is no joke. I was lucky to have done an episode of Mad Men out of curiosity. I went and I got hired to do that because I admire it so much, and so that really came in handy for me to know it was possible, because otherwise I would never even attempt it. You know.
I wanted to ask actually about that. I mean, working with John Hamm and Mad Men. I mean, it's a different sort of project than you're used to. I mean, what was it like diving into a show that's so popular in that year?
It was magical. It was like somebody has a Lamborghini and he says, "Hey, here are the keys. You want to go around the block?" You know, everything was completely prepared, and but still, it was hard work. It was not 8 hours a day. It was sometimes 15, but 12 guaranteed.
Do you remember any moment on that set or working with any actor in particular that you saw something incredible from?
Oh no! Oh, there's so many.
You don't remember
There's so many.
much
No, it was very intense shooting and very exciting. Yes.
I want to talk about the music in this film because it's so fantastic. I mean, he plays a young DJ, and Martha has a cello, and she plays the cello, which we saw a little bit of in the trailer. I mean, Lucien, he created this music. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about finding the composer?
Yeah, he's built a Luciano in the concert, and he draws people, crowds of 10,000 people wherever he goes in the world. I don't know now, but like a year ago or half, things go so fast in that world. The movie takes place in the early 90s, so that was the beginning of the techno music in the big, important techno scene in Ibiza. And so since the actual character, he was my technical advisor on the movie, so because we were very friends, so he could tell me exactly how things were, what kind of instrument they were using at the time. And between the early 90s and the time we shot there were museum pieces, all the equipment that he has at home.
I mean, now Ibiza is like one of the techno capitals of the world. People go there from all over and party and that sort of thing.
And you know how it started. I'm a little bit responsible for that because my movie More, the music was from the Pink Floyd. And the Pink Floyd, that was their first big hit, the music of my movie More. They had done one album, great, but didn't have a success. But More was their first success. The movie was playing in Germany, all over Europe. It was a huge success. And people figured out, oh, there's money to be made if we organize charters from this town to Ibiza. And the charters started landing in Ibiza, brought in by people who saw More and wanted to check the landscape. It was fascinating visually and so simple and so sensual and so exciting. And there was the music of the Pink Floyd that was giving an extraordinary color to everything. So everybody wanted to go, and they kind of ruined the island with the.
I was going to say, I wanted to go after I saw that film. I mean, have you been going? Did you go to some of those first concerts? Obviously, after people started to do that.
Right. I'm more of a walker in the wild than a clubber. But
has your mother seen the film now that it has come out? And what?
Yeah. She had one comment. She said, "People talk too much German in your movie."
That's great. I mean, that's a typical mother right there. I want to ask you.
I mean, it's her character.
Exactly. It fits
movie.
so well in the film. Exactly. I want to ask a little bit about premiering at Cannes. Obviously, at Cannes, you've been there so many times. What is it like as a filmmaker, international filmmaker, to premiere a film there?
Well, I mean, I'm used to it. I know all the things, and in the screening, I had a little bit of bad luck because one of the doors were blocked, and the people who wanted to exit that door from the right of the screen couldn't exit. So then they choose to pass in front of the screen because in Cannes, always people are late. And then when they were passing, they were not just passing, they were running. So the people watching the movie from time to time, they had the people running. Say, what?
That's not in my film.
It was distracting. Yeah. but the movie got a good reception, and it was good. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, what is it like for you to show a film like that in front of a festival audience and to bring your small story and have it be in this big grand sort of
well, I had it in a bigger place in Festival of Locarno, where they have the biggest screen in the world, which is in the public place there. They have huge screen. They managed to do a screening really big, and it's a big event every year, and few movies can stand that. And I was so they select very carefully, and I was there, and that was an extraordinary event and feeling. But it's funny because they're always afraid that it's going to rain, So you have your screen, you think passing there, the big event, but everybody's looking at the meteo and saying, "Oh boy."
Obviously, you're just releasing this now, but I'm sure people want to know what's coming from you next. Do you have any tips for us?
I just finished a documentary that just opened in Paris, and it's going to be playing in New York for the New York Film Festival, and also for the Telluride Film Festival before. So it is the last part of my trilogy of evil. I
like that.
I did Idi Amin Dada and Terrorist Advocate. So that was a bloody dictator. Terrorist Advocate was a lawyer deeply involved in terrorism himself. And then this last one is about a Buddhist monk that may be responsible for the first genocide of this new century, and a genocide against Muslim, because he's a big Islamophobe and a big admirer of Trump. So you see all the elements for
no light subjects for you, Barbet. I love that. Well, I can't wait to see that film, and we have some questions in the audience for you.
Hi. I wanted to mention that just last night your film Barfly screened in New York City, and I saw it for the first time, and I thought it was terrific. But your film first came out, this film, in 2015, and your previous one was 7 years before that. I wanted to know, is it difficult to get films that you want to made these days? And what, at this point in your career, what goes into picking a film?
Right. The thing is that I decided now to do only movies that I really like to do. So this is much more difficult in our days. So that means that I have to really do some creative work on the budget. That is extremely hard. Very often I find myself without a line producer, without a secretary, and I'm just doing everything with my computer, organizing it. So, and of course, in the Hollywood days, I would not try to impose my own subject because that's a losing proposition. Let's see what they want to do and how much I can make it mine. And so I choose the subject very carefully at the time with my partner, Susan Hoffman. And we did we had a wonderful team. We did many movies like that. But in the world of today is such a fight and is so difficult that I'm very proud to have managed to do now 2 movies in a row, but I did it at a cost because that means for the last 4 years I haven't seen a movie, I haven't read a book, I haven't had a dinner with any friends, and I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 4 years. So now I'm enjoying freedom.
Well, we're grateful for this project, that's for sure. That's the next question right there.
Asa, thanks so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to Amnesia. I wanted to ask you, you had a fun cameo in front of the camera in one of my favorite movies, Mars Attacks. I want to know how that came about and what was that like?
Well, I guess he had an actor that disappeared, and that was like, I think it was the first day of shooting, and they had a bad luck, and they called me just a few days before and said, "Do you want to be the French president?" And I say, "Sure, I'll do anything." I'm not an actor, really. I'm not so good as an actor, but when a friend asks me to act, I always accept because it is essential for a director to be in the place of an actor, especially for small parts, because it's much harder for somebody coming for a small part. It's horrible. Everybody knows each other. You don't understand anything. It's very complicated. So now that experience gave me the possibility, not that, but every time I act, I learn a lot from that.
Absolutely. Okay, we have one last question for you.
Hi, thank you for being here. Do you have any dream actors you would like to work with in a future project?
I have a long list of people I like to work with. It's a very close to my heart, and I don't publicize it.
You're gonna keep that close to the vest.
Yes.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you so much for being here, Barbet. Amnesia is the film. It's in theaters this weekend, and check it out on VOD. Thank you so much for being here. Give him a round of applause, guys.
Okay.